Mr. Lockhart, before the hearing, we talked briefly about the recommendation to increase the minimum benefit and that would help lift people out of poverty. At the same time, we recognize the financial challenges that the Social Security system is facing. There are other provisions in the Social Security law that hurt people, and I believe your report does deal with them. I'm referring specifically to the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset. I represent a state where the state retirement system does not have a Social Security component. And what I have found over the years are so many retired school teachers whose spouse worked in the private sector, and when the spouse dies, we end up having this very adverse impact on the financial security of the remaining spouse, often an older woman. And I have seen retired school teachers have to go back to work in their 70s after their husbands have died or their wives have died. This also affects firefighters and police officers in my state. Could you comment on reforms that the Commission has recommended to try to ease what I think is a really unfair provision of the law for the individuals who have worked in the private sector have paid into the system and have earned their benefits, and yet the surviving spouse does not receive them?
It is a very controversial and tough, both the windfall elimination and the government pension offset. 10 years ago, I had to come up here and testify why it worked, when really it probably doesn't work, to be perfectly honest. It's very rough justice. There's certainly a core reason for it, that the way Social Security works, if you have relatively low income over your lifetime, you get a much bigger benefit than if you worked in Social Security all your life. And so that was the core of why it was put in. It doesn't really work very well. And at this point, there's a lot more data out there that can make it work better, that we can actually track people's income in Social Security, but also out of Social Security. And so what we're proposing actually is to use the whole data of their workforce and be able to do a calculation of the windfall that way, and so that there won't be a windfall. And in fact, what we will produce is an equitable, or much more equitable for people that work outside of Social Security. And there, many states are like yours that have that issue. I think what we have proposed here and really works for many people. And when you put on top of that what we've done on the basic minimum benefit, we've also changed esoterically the bend points to make it the lowest bend point higher and a higher income amount instead of 90%, 95%. So what we've done is actually pushed a lot of the lower income people up and out of poverty. The minimum benefit will apply to about 10% of the workers as they retire. So the combination, I think, should be helpful, as well as what we've done on the spousal benefit.